So, week 8 of the NFL season is now officially over, so it is time to see what we learned from each team this week, starting with the Rams and the Vikings. With the Rams, we learned that this team, with their offensive weapons, is going to have a very good chance to win this division. And the reason why is Kupp and Nacua were out for a good amount of time, and they both came back tonight. They combined for 12 receptions and 150 plus yards. They have a tough schedule ahead though. That is the only problem with this team. They're going to be able to put up as many points as possible, but it's going to matter how much the defense can really lock it down and if they can get stopped on offense. What we learned from the Vikings, however, is this defense is being figured out and they might be in trouble. And they can't afford to lose games like this. Yes, the Rams are a very good team when they have their weapons, but they can't afford to lose games in the stacked NFC North division, since the Packers and the Lions are the juggernauts of that division, and the Bears aren't far much behind. In the first quarter, the Vikings had 140 plus yards and 14 points, and then the last three, they only had 6 with 130 plus. Thankfully, there is an easier schedule ahead. They got a lot of their hard games out of the way first, so we will see how this team ends up doing in the long run. For the Rams, I'm going to be throwing them into the playoff favorite category, and the Vikings will also be thrown into the playoff favorite category. The Packers and the Jaguars faced off this weekend in Jacksonville, and what we learned from the Jaguars is that Trevor Lawrence is not the issue of this team. And yes, I know some people initially thought that. I understand why, but he's looking a lot better again. The Jacksonville defense is a massive problem. They're giving up almost 20 plus points a game. I think possibly even more than that. And you're just not going to win games when the defense is performing like that. The offense looks pretty solid. Bigsby's a dog. And then, sadly, a lot of their receivers got hurt. Kirk with the broken collarbone and Brian Thomas also with an injury. So, they're pretty much screwed for the rest of the season, but they got to fire Doug Peterson. If they do that, I think they will be perfectly okay. What we learned from the Packers this week, however, is that Josh Jacobs is an incredible signing. And the difference between him and Aaron Jones is that they need a bell cow. They need a guy they can go to and run the ball a lot with. Aaron Jones was able to run the ball, but not 25 carries a game. Josh Jacobs can do that if he is asked to, and that happened because Jordan Love got hurt. I broke down the Packer game a ton, so go ahead and just check this video out here where I break it down. Placing them into my rankings, Jacksonville, I'm going to put them in beyond cooked because, they're not in football hell. They just got to figure out their defense and their coaching. And the Packers, Super Bowl bound, not a question there. Next is the Cardinals and Dolphins. And I will start with the Cardinals, which is they're going to be a sneaky playoff team. And the only reason is the NFC West is very up for grabs still. The Cardinals are sitting at 500 after this game, after stealing one from Miami with Tua coming back with a last-second field goal. Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison both got 100 receiving yards each. However, the defense still sucks. But on the good side, they have a very, very easy schedule coming up and can easily make a push for first place. What we learned from Miami is that the playoffs are a long shot for this team. Losing that many games without Tua, it put them in a bad spot. Even if they win 8 of their next 10, I don't know if they're going to have a chance in this playoff run because the Browns looked a lot better. The Bengals should be figuring it out sometime soon, we hope. And who knows, maybe the Jets turn it around, which I doubt is going to happen. But they have to go on a run. And, what kind of took it away from me is that they blew a 2-possession lead with 9 minutes to go in the game. You just can't allow those kinds of things. And it's not like the defense is bad either. So, ranking these teams, Arizona is going to go into the sneaky good category because they might be okay. They might be able to sneak into a playoff spot. And with Miami, I'm just going to go ahead and throw them in the confusing tier because I have no idea what to make of this team. With Tua back, they should be a little bit better of a team, but not optimistic about what I'm seeing as of now. Moving on to the Jets and the Patriots, and what we learned from this game is that the Patriots still own the Jets. Drake May sadly came out with a concussion, but Jacoby Brissett was able to come into the game and get the job done. Ramondre Stevenson had a pretty solid game, but it was just an ugly game both ways. But for the Patriots, it does give a huge boost in morale for this team, who might have had some locker room turmoil after the statements Gerard Mayo said last week about them being soft. The Jets are the one to talk about. What we learned from them is Salah wasn't the issue, and they're really screwed. They're done. I feel like they're done. They might have a chance still. Aaron Rodgers can run the table whenever he wants, but this is the lowest point in Jets history in a long time. And it's because they expected a good team. This team isn't good. Greg Zuerlein really costed them the game because he lost them 4 points, and they could have been up by 6 earlier in the game, and it just screwed them. Joe Douglas, obviously, I think he needs to go. Rodgers is holding the ball too long, and he created the team of his choice. He brought in his buddies, got everything he wanted, and had a team that was Super Bowl contending on paper, and it sucks. He's a worse version of LeBron GM. And his statements on, I've been in the darkness, you got to go in there and make peace with it. You're cooked, dude. It's over. How would I rank these teams? The Jets are in football hell because they used a lot of capital, and I don't know what they can do now. And the Patriots, I guess they're beyond cooked. Drake May looks good, so that's why they're not going to be in football hell, because they have a future. Moving on to the Browns and the Ravens. The Ravens, what we learned about them is that they need to make a huge defensive addition. And as of recording this, they didn't. They decided to bring in another receiver, which, I guess helps, but I don't think they really needed that. I thought Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Nelson Aguilar, and Rashad Bateman were perfectly okay. But they got to grab somebody on defense because they are giving up tons of points. They let the Browns score 20 points for the first time in a season today. Hamilton dropped the game-winning interception, but was the best on the field. There's a lot of drop passes on the defensive side. Tucker has also been a little bit of an issue too, only hitting 3 of his last 8 field goals from 50-plus yards. That doesn't sound terrible when you think in hindsight, but this dude should be automatic. What we learned from the Browns is that Jameis was the answer we knew all along. Everybody was saying you should have started earlier. We were all proven right. Even though there were passes, that should have been intercepted by the defense, that's just how he plays. He had a pretty solid stat line with 27 for 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, he should have definitely had some, and 115.3 passer rating, leading the Browns to the first time they scored 20 points this season. The Browns are in a little bit better of a situation. I doubt they sell at the deadline because I still think there's a chance for them to make the playoffs with the way the AFC is shaping up. Where do we place these teams? I'm still going to put the Ravens in Super Bowl bound. Even though their defense has been Swiss cheese as of lately, they still have a high-powered offense which can lead them to a Super Bowl. And the Browns are a confusing team because just their record now, they're 2-6. They have a better shot at competing now, but nobody knows what they're going to end up doing. Moving on to the Eagles and Bengals game. What we learned from the Eagles is that they are the best on and off team in the league. As we all know, this team is very hit or miss. There's some games where they come out guns blazing and some where they've been weak. The last 2 weeks, though, they've been guns blazing. The Bengals, they beat the crap out of them, dropped 34 points, 37 points actually, on the Bengals' head and decimated the Giants last week. Huge statement win for them. Hurts had a huge game as well, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 of them tush pushes. Went 16 for 20 for passing, and he's got the Jags and the Cowboys next, so they're probably going to get to 7-2. The Bengals, however, might be sellers at the deadline because they're 0-4 at home. Burrow's balling, but their wins aren't anything crazy. They beat the Browns, the Panthers, and the Giants. And yes, that is the Browns with Deshaun Watson. The wild card is a little mid still, like I said, so there's still a chance. Their defense is a problem, though. If they're going to add, they're going to add defense, and it's very possible we see T. Higgins go at the deadline. Now, where do we put these teams? The Eagles, they're a playoff favorite. I'm not going to say Super Bowl bound yet because, they're on and off, like I said. And next we have what team do they play? The Bengals. Here we have the Bengals. I'm going to put them as a confusing team as well because they just keep losing games that, they should compete better in. So I can't put them anywhere else. Next, we have the Colts and the Texans. What we learned from the Texans that this division should be won easily. They're already up by a good amount in this division. They have 2 games on the team that's behind them. 6-2 record. They have a 4-4 record. The Colts, this should be won very easily. Sadly, Stephon Diggs went out with an injury, and he's going to be done for the season. He tore his ACL. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter finally had their big game. So I'm very optimistic to see how this team's going to do. The Colts, on the other hand, they need to start Flacco, and I think they realized it too, because Flacco has officially taken the starter role from Anthony Richardson, who got benched today. And reason being, they lost a winnable game. Richardson went 10 of 31. Yes, there was a lot of drops, but still, 33 completion percentage is not ideal. Defense played a great game, though. But, however, the offense was abysmal, so there was just no capitalization on anything. I do want to talk about this, though. Anthony Richardson took himself out of the game in the third quarter because he was tired. He said this in quote, "Tired, I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running there that I did. So I told Shane I needed a break right there." That is a way to lose the team. That is not a leader. If you're tired, you go out there and keep playing. That's why Flacco took the starting role, in my honest opinion, opposed from performance. It's because of that. Now, where would I put these teams? The Texans, Super Bowl bound. I mean, it's not really a surprise. This team is very, very good. Record shows for it. And the defense is looking to start picking up now. And sadly, Diggs went down, but the offense is going to be just fine with Nico coming back very soon. The Colts, I'm going to put them in sneaky good. And hear me out. It's because Joe Flacco is going to be playing quarterback. With him manning the helm, they're going to be a sneaky good team. Next is the Lions and Titans, and what we learned about the Lions is that this team is a favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. Sadly, it's true. They had 5 skill position players score, and David Montgomery threw one. Yeah, I'm serious. They didn't even throw for 100 yards passing. There was less than 250 yards of total offense, and they put up 52 points. Unbelievable. Goff went 12 for 15, 85 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. The Lions even had 9 net passing yards in the first half, and they still had 5 offensive touchdowns. This team's a wagon. I don't know who and how they get stopped, but look out. What we learned from the Titans is Brian Callahan, I think, is a problem. Vrabel wasn't the issue. I think that's very obvious. Callahan has not been doing a job that we expected. It's mainly because the team has no grit. They don't want to be there. They play like they don't want to be there. Ridley played like he wanted to be there, though. He emerged, had a huge first quarter, first half, 10 receptions, 143 yards he ended with for the day. And his special teams, oh my goodness, it was brutal. They allowed 3 60-plus yard returns and a 90-yard punt return touchdown. This team is screwed. But where do I put these teams? Obviously, I'm going to put the Lions in Super Bowl bound. Honestly, they should be in their own tier because they're a juggernaut. They're going to be very hard to take down. And the Titans are in football hell. It's bad. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have anything. An offense, maybe. They sold DeAndre Hopkins away. This team's really in a bad spot. Next game is Falcons and Bucs. And for the Falcons, they're going to win this division very easily. They beat the Bucs twice, so that already gives them a 2-game advantage up on the Bucs. Oh my fucking God, what do you want? Next game is the Bucs and the Falcons. And what we learned from this game is that the Falcons are going to win this game. Next game is the Bucs and the Falcons. And what we learned about the Falcons is that they're going to win this division very easily. They're already up 2 games up on the Bucs, which is going to be very huge when it comes to advantage. They're 4-0 in the division as well. There's not a hard schedule coming up. Kirk had a big day. The offense looked great. Pitts also had a huge game. However, he pulled a Deshaun Jackson. We really won't talk about that. But the Falcons are going to make a huge push this season. I think they need to go out and grab an edge rusher, and this team is going to be scary if they do that. However, for the Bucs, this defense is a huge problem. If they want to compete, they gotta go get somebody on defense, or they just call the season quits, because Mike Evans ain't coming back for a while. Even though the offense still looked good, I still think Todd Bowles is the one holding this team back. His clock management was absolutely terrible, and the defense is susceptible to giving up tons of yardage and super long touchdowns. They gave up multiple 20-yard plus touchdowns this game, and that's just not something you can do. The Titans are going to Falcons in playoff favorite. If they get a pass rusher, I'm going to put him in Super Bowl bound, but the pass rush is an issue right now. And the Bucs, I'm also going to put them in sneaky good. I don't know if they're a playoff favorite yet because of the way the NFC has stacked up, but this team is very good, don't get me wrong, but the defense is abysmal, and I think that's what's going to kill them. Moving on to the Saints and the Chargers. The Chargers are a really good, legit team. They have the best defense in the league. They have given up 91 points throughout the whole season, which is a league best by a good margin. The only one that's really close is the Steelers, and that's by a 10-point grab right there. So the Chargers are a very good team. Herbert had a huge game. The defense is elite. Ladd McConkey broke out. I'm just very excited to see what this team is going to do. Jim Harbaugh has created a completely new culture with this team, and I think they're legit. I'm going to see them make a playoff appearance this year. However, for the Saints, the rebuild has to start. They are in hell because they have so much cap issues, and they re-signed Kamara. There's not a lot they can do. Rattler looked rough. Dennis Allen is a problem. They went from 2-0 to 2-6. They're just dead in the water. It has to end. Funny thing about this game, it was 2-3 and 5-9 at one point. So I'll call that probably the best moment of this game. I'm going to be putting the Chargers in playoff favorite because this team is really good. I think they're going to make a playoff push, no questions asked. And the Saints are in football hell. It's over. Just wrap it up. I mean, it doesn't matter if Derek Carr comes back. The team might win a couple of games more. Next is the Bills and the Seahawks, and what we learned from the Bills this game is that they're going to walk to an easy AFC East title, mainly because all the other teams kind of self-imploded. All they got to do is just keep winning games, and this is going to be easy. They blew out the Seahawks. It wasn't even close. They put up 440-plus yards. Even though they're on and off team, they're going to walk away with this division very easily, and mainly because Josh Allen is playing at an MVP level. No surprise there, which I think he's going to be the MVP frontrunner maybe in the next 2 weeks. What we learned from Seattle is that they need to establish a run game because Geno can't do it all. They had a whopping 32 rushing yards, and Kenneth Walker was 9 for 12. It's just not ideal. If the run gets stopped with this team, they're going to lose because they can't pass the whole game. And it was shown a lot during this Bills game. And the defense was also Swiss cheese. They've been very Swiss cheese against good teams, as we saw with the 49ers game as of recently. And you know things are getting a little bad when your Seattle players are fighting each other. You just can't allow that. Especially with a defensive-minded coach, I'd hope their defense would be a little bit better than this, but not liking what I'm seeing, boys. Where I'm going to be putting each of these teams here, I'm going to put Seattle in sneaky good. I'm not saying they're not a bad team. Don't forget that. But they just haven't shown consistency, so I can't put them in a playoff favorite yet, even though they're still leading their division, if I'm correct. I'm going to be putting the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl bound. This team they're pretty good. If they're actually no, they got to go to playoff favorite. They're going to be higher end of playoff favorite only because they're too on and off. Josh Allen's playing at an MVP level. They got Amari Cooper. There just has to be some consistency. Next is Bears and Commanders, and what we learned from the Commanders is that Jaden Daniels is the guy for multiple years, and I feel like we knew this ahead of time, but this game solidified it even more. And also, the defense doesn't look terrible either. They played a very good game. I don't really have a lot to cover with the Commanders here, except there's improvements with the defense every single week. And if they keep getting better and better, this team is going to be very hard to take down, especially with their dynamic offense. For the Bears, however, Ebers needs to go. And I think it's because he hasn't brought anything to this team. Yes, maybe he brought a better defense, but I mean, besides that, he hasn't really done anything. Caleb Williams did not play a very good game either. He was 131 yards, had maybe a 50 passer rating. Shane Waldron handed a ball off to the backup center with 6 minutes to go on the goal line to go ahead. Tyreek Stevenson mocking fans after the game. I mean, not even after the game. He thought it was after the game, but there was a play going on, and it was a friggin' Hail.
Form at the goal line. They bring through Daniels back. He's just going to have to let one fall. Steps away from the defenders. Gives himself some time. Now steps up, fires, heads towards the end zone. It is.
But the thing I really want to take away from this is that Matt Eberflus's recap after this game is that the 13-yard out route to Terry McLaurin to put them in range to make a Hail Mary throw didn't matter. Doug Kramer said the run wasn't a bad call. That was obviously the handoff to the backup center. And the Hail Mary wasn't poorly coached. It was the player's fault. Noah Brown was open to catch the ball. Yeah, no accountability taken. Pathetic. You're a coach. You're a leader. You're supposed to say, hey, that's on me. This is why it is a massive problem. The Bears, I'm going to be placing in, I guess, sneaky good. I mean, they're still not a bad team. The defense played a pretty solid game, except the offense was just very lackluster. Commies are going in playoff favorite. This team's a wagon. I really like the Commanders this season. Like I said, the defense gets better every week. So if they keep doing that, it's going to be very hard to beat this team. Next up is the Chiefs and the Raiders, and there's not really a lot to talk about this game. The Chiefs' defense is still legit. They're still undefeated. Kelsey had his first touchdown of the season. Kareem Hunt still continues to ball. Mahomes had a little bit better of a game, which is very promising. And, I mean, sadly, this team's still undefeated, which is going to let them keep getting better each week, which we're seeing. So I don't even know who's going to hand them their first loss if they get one. And the Raiders, Antonio Pierce isn't it. He is a worse version of Dan Campbell. He's a version of Dan Campbell which has the energy Dan Campbell has, but no coaching ability at all. They had a 10-play drive for 14 yards in 6 minutes. They failed every single opportunity to win. I feel like that's all I need to say with this team. They're cooked. I'm going to be placing the Chiefs in Super Bowl bound. Obviously, you don't really need to explain that one. And the Raiders are in football hell because they don't have a quarterback. They don't really have many weapons. Brock Bowers looks great, but this team is really cooked, especially that their defense isn't good. Bad situation. Next game is the Panthers and the Broncos, and Denver is going to be an easy team to sum up here. Their defense is legit. I mean, I'm not really surprised. And Bo Nix looks a lot better. Through October, he's been the best quarterback for rookies this month. He's leading in passing touchdowns at 7. Best passing touchdown interception ratio, 7-1. Most passing yards, 870. 2 rushing touchdowns, which is the most, and tied most wins at 3. The Broncos are looking very good, and I'm very excited to see what we have from this team, especially that Nix put up 4 touchdowns this game. Yes, it's the Panthers, but still, I'm very optimistic from what I'm seeing. Carolina, I don't even know what to say. They are in football hell beyond. I don't even know how to explain this team. Bryce was a bit better. Jalen Coker looks like a gem in the rough, though. I do like what I see from him. Young had some nicer throws, even though a lot of his yardage was from garbage time and a 98-yard garbage time drive. Leggett still balling. I just don't know what to do with this team. They got to sell. They got to do something because whatever they're doing is not ideal, especially that they just traded Dave Johnson for a 5th rounder and also gave up a 6th. So yeah, they didn't really get anything. They traded Dante Jackson and Deontay Johnson and a 6th rounder for a 5th rounder and Deontay Johnson for 9 games. Explains the Panthers perfectly. One thing I want to say about the Broncos though is I do not like Sean Payton because he went to attempt a fake field goal up 28-7, and I feel like it's a Bush League move. J.C. Horn went off on him at the end of the game saying, you're trying to run up the score. I completely stand with JC on that one. For where I'm going to be putting these teams, I'm going to drop Denver in the sneaky good category. Don't know about playoff favorite yet because, they haven't been beating too great of teams, so I don't know how Knicks is going to perform. And Carolina, they get their own tier. Please sell the team. Just do it. Tepper, you got to go, bro. Please. Moving on to Sunday night's game was the 49ers and the Cowboys, and the 49ers are not dead yet. And good thing they won this game because this keeps their playoff hopes alive. If they lost, they might have been screwed, especially considering they lost to the Cardinals and the Rams already. But the offense looked pretty good even without Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings should be coming back soon. CMC is looking for a Week 10 return, and I think they're going to be perfectly okay since this division hasn't been too crazy just yet. Every team is a good team, so it's going to be interesting how this division shapes up. And the Cowboys, they need to reset because McCarthy has to go. Jerry Jones is, I don't know what he's doing. Dak padded his stats again. This is not a good football team, and I expected a lot better, but since Dan Quinn is gone, the defense is really bad. So him, McCarthy, and Zimmer both need to go. Where does it put these teams, however? San Francisco, I'm going to put them in sneaky good. I don't know if they're a playoff favorite just because, they've been losing games they should win. And the Cowboys are beyond cooked. I wouldn't say football hell just yet because they still have a talented roster. The coaching is a massive issue. And moving on to Monday Night Football, which I almost gouged my eyes out trying to watch. What I got from the Steelers is that Russ looks back to Seattle Russ. He looked very good in this game. A couple of these balls that he threw, especially one to George Pickens down the sideline, absolute dot. The run game still looks great. The defense is elite. They just need to stop playing down to their competition, which they like to do a lot. And the Giants have a lost season. It's really bad. Tyrone Tracy looks great. I was very happy to see him have a huge breakout game, especially that Saquon is off in Philadelphia now, so they have someone that can run the ball. Daniel Jones is a little bit of an issue too, even though there was a lot of penalties on this Giants team tonight. Jones, I don't know if he's the answer. I feel like we're being a little too harsh on him still. I still don't think he is the main issue, but I don't know. I think they need to draft a quarterback, no questions asked, especially with Jones being 1-15 on primetime. Where I'm going to put these teams, Steelers are a playoff favorite just because, their defense is still elite. They got a great run game, and Russ is cooking, to say the least. And the Giants are in football hell because I don't know what they need to do more. But there are a couple bright spots on this team, but this team's a mess. Anyways, that is going to be it for today's video. Be on the lookout for my predictions tomorrow. And if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, do what you can to support the channel. Anything is appreciated. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys tomorrow. See ya.